It was a Friday, 5 p.m. My boss never calls me, but when he does, I know something serious is happening. I'm just pulling up at the parking lot to pick up my youngest daughter from daycare, while my oldest daughter is in the back seat hearing me talk and watching all this happening. By the way, she happens to be today in the audience, so she knows this story very well. A spoiler alert, she got a big ice cream out of this because she was very patient and allowed daddy to actually take care of work call, over the weekend and actually steal some time from her. My boss tells me there's a massive hurricane hitting Florida right now. And one of our customers, who happens to be the biggest utility company of the state, is struggling. They need help very, very fast to deal with the situation. Immediately, I jumped on a Zoom call, like literally from my phone in my car, and started talking to the operations center to figure out what was going on. Now, let me tell you something, breaking a little bit from the story. There's a lot of hype when it comes to AI, as we all know. A new model comes out, the ChatGPT image generation, you probably all saw this week. I pretty much spent 2 days just generating a bunch of Dragon Ball Z characters out of my profile picture. And that's kind of the AI that we all see, the visible aspects of AI. Chatbots, the new models, new videos that are popping out. But what about the invisible AI that is always running and we don't see it? And how can we discern the hype from the reality? Now let me paint you a picture. Imagine thousands of field technicians trying to figure out how to fix outages during a massive hurricane. And I think all of here, we've suffered as well during an ice storm. No power. We're calling the authorities to figure out what's going on, when the power is going to come back. And this was a challenge because they were dealing with a situation with thousands and thousands of reports any given minute. They were sending them either via messages, they were calling the operations center, they were even sending emails, whatever they could do to report back on the situation. However, this created a very messy situation because we were dealing with, as you can guess, a ton of data that we couldn't make sense of. That was the situation at that time, and it was like working against the clock to restore power back to those communities. The scale of this was massive. All told, there were 600,000 homes without power at one point in time. Those millions of people. When I heard about that, it became personal for me. As someone who grew up in the Caribbean, from the Dominican Republic, I know firsthand what it is to go through a hurricane. I remember as a kid, every hurricane season at the end of August, having to prepare, anticipating that a hurricane might hit the island or not. So I know very, very well what these people were going through. So at that time, I had to do anything in my power to help the situation, no matter how small my contribution could have been. Because this wasn't just about technology. It was about people. It was about kids, with fear. It was about food going to waste. It was about uncertainty. And we needed to give solace and restore power for these people to make sure that the situation went away. What happens next was that by Saturday, we brought AI into the mix. We got together, we rolled up our sleeves, and we got to work. And we were able to put together a very quick and dirty solution that actually was processing all these incidents that all the technicians of the field were sending back to the operations center. Imagine, we have thousands of messages, and now we're processing them at the speed of light with AI. Fabulous, right? The only problem with that is that it was giving us a lot of incorrect results. And you might ask yourself, but why is that if we were using AI? Because there was no humans in the loop. And let me introduce you to a concept that is very well known in AI research, which is called human in the loop. All these models, you can call it ChatGPT, Claude, all the ones that we hear about, they go through a process even from the inception that actually have people like you and I telling the AI what is right and what is wrong. Because these systems, they don't learn by themselves, just automatically. There's actually people involved in the process, doing a process called labeling and telling the AI, this is good, this is bad. No different than when you are trying to, train your dog and you say, okay, in that little corner is where you're gonna pee every time. So if he does it, what do? You give it a treat. If he doesn't, you pull the treat back. It's the same with AI. You have all this data that you're processing, and now we needed to tell it, hey, this is how I want you to process this. So what we had to do was bring former technicians from the field that knew the data, that knew what code 357 meant when a technician that is trying to deal with the outage at hand meant. Once we built all those categories and that kind of definition of the data, we were able to properly process it, and the AI, quote unquote, became smarter. Why is that? Because this AI, even though we were using the cutting edge models that, best in breed, didn't know anything about this data. He hasn't seen it before. And because he hasn't seen it before, it was very hard to properly classify it. So that was step number one. We now have all the data classified, all the categories properly built up. Now we know that we have 1,000 transformers that are blowing up the model, the brand, and broken down by zip code. That's perfect. Now we can start, addressing the situation with more precision. The second thing that we did was we brought clarity to the people that needed to oversee the situation. Created a set of dashboards to summarize what was going on. We actually plotted in a map all the areas that were affected, how many supplies needed to be sent to specific locations, and that increased significantly the speed as to which the technicians could actually deal with these outages. So as you can see, we were marrying the power of the people on the ground reporting the incidents and the power of technology to then come to a solution that would have taken probably days or weeks to a couple of humans trying to figure it out, and we were able to do it within hours with the power of AI. Now, it's not an AI solution without a chatbot, right? That's how everybody uses it. So we also did that. We provided a very simple interface, very interactive, so the executives could actually talk to the data. They went in and just said, hey, what is happening right now? And it could break down, well, right now we only have 500,000 homes without power. These are the incidents that are going on. We need X amount of transformers, X amount of trees are blocking the ways. So they had a better picture of what's going on. So basically, with AI, we brought clarity into a situation of chaos. But this translated to is that fast forward to Monday, in just 3 days, yes, let that sink in just 3 days, they were able to restore power to 400,000 homes. And this was a record for them, because historically, this type of massive outages could take them weeks. And with the acceleration and the power of AI, we were able to help accelerate that and restore, the power that these communities needed back. But let me remind you, this wasn't magic. Like I said before, this was because of the hard efforts of the technicians on the ground, that they were literally collecting data so that the AI could do its magic. It doesn't work if we don't have, first, good data to work with, and, like I said before, humans like you, like me, like you, in the loop, making these AI systems work to the way that we want them to work. So how can you, each of you, incorporate this and use AI effectively in your spheres, at work, in your personal lives, or any projects that you want to do? The first thing is that you need to pair it with human insight. This whole notion that AI is gonna come and replace us all tomorrow, I don't believe that, and you shouldn't believe that either. There's always a need for people that have domain expertise on a given topic to actually inject that knowledge and that context to the AI, and that's when the solutions actually flourish. The second thing is you need to actually define very clear outcomes. These AI tools, no matter how sophisticated they are, they need instructions. They need you to tell it, this is what I expect from you, and this is how you need to do it. So you need to very clearly define what is the outcome that you need at any given point in time. Imagine a doctor that has to scan through a bunch of MRIs or a bunch of image scans to treat their patients. He can then give that to AI and focus on what humans do best, which is care for the patients, empathy, and actually provide that human touch. And the third thing you need is need to be able to measure the impact. How is this impacting what you are trying to accomplish? In our example that we were just talking about was restoring power to people. We were able to measure the amount of houses that we were able to restore, how many supplies that they were needed. So think about in your own spheres, how you can measure the impact that AI is happening that is not only flashy, but is actually subtle behind the scenes, but is actually transforming the operations or what you're trying to do. Because ultimately, technology is not about a flashy AI. It's not about using the latest model. It's actually combining the human ingenuity with the power of these new tools. I don't know about you. I am a techno-optimist. What that means is that I believe that AI and technology is at its best when it's married with all of our capabilities as humans. Because the true power of AI is felt, not seen. So thank you.